Well, hi, this is Just Be Well, the channel about whole life wellness. I'm Dr. Sult, a medical doctor and functional medicine practitioner.
I'm Elizabeth, a registered nurse and whole life coach.
And we've been talking all this week about chronic pain. We kind of gave an overview on Monday. We talked about the whole arc of functional medicine. We talked quite a lot about the mental, emotional, spiritual aspects of chronic pain on Wednesday. And today we're going to talk more about diet and lifestyle and all the things that kind of feed into pain. And then we'll probably end by talking about a couple of supplements that might be helpful if you are suffering from pain. So remember that the genes your body expresses are a reflection of your diet, your lifestyle, your toxicity level, your thoughts, beliefs, fears, hopes, all of it. It's called the exposome. So the exposome is everything. If you can think of being exposed to it, it's part of the exposome. So it includes, everything, everything. And where you sit right now is the result of that exposome washing over your genes and causing differential expression of different genes. And that's really the difference between the genotype and the phenotype. So the genotype is just the blueprint. The phenotype is what's actually been built. So when all of that exposome washes over your genes, it causes all of the epigenetic changes, it's called, and that results in who you are and what you're expressing currently. And hello, Yolanda.
Hi, Yolanda.
So this expression, in this case of what we're talking about is chronic pain, how do you decrease the expression of pro-inflammatory genes and increase the expression of anti-inflammatory genes? Well, diet and lifestyle has a lot to do with that.
Stress management.
Yep. So diet and lifestyle, stress management, all of that stuff. And we talked a lot about the Renew diet being an anti-inflammatory, anti-allergy, detoxification diet. So that's a great place to start. And you can get all of that for free just by joining the Just Be Well Family Room Facebook group. And it's available for download in there. So that's step one. So there is a vitamin that will increase something like 200 or more than 200 anti-inflammatory genes and suppress more than 200 anti-inflammatory genes. And that's vitamin D. Vitamin D, oddly enough, is a very potent anti-inflammatory.
I think you said that backwards, but...
Did I say it backwards?
So, I was like, I've got to avoid
better
this.
never
Whatever
take
he's
that
going
one.
to say, I'm avoiding.
So it's expressing anti-inflammatory and it's suppressing inflammatory.
Correct. Yes.
Oh, did I say it backwards?
You did say it backwards. That's okay.
Okay. Well,
I'm probably the only one who caught
that's
it
the
anyway.
beauty of live events, is you get to make mistakes. So anyway, vitamin D is impressively anti-inflammatory, and because we live in this sun-phobic society, nobody gets enough vitamin D. When I measure people's vitamin D in the clinic, it's universally low.
Yeah.
I mean, low, not like borderline, maybe it's kind of low. And most people need between 5 and 10,000 units a day of vitamin D in order to really get sufficiency. And sufficiency is at a bare minimum 40 and hopefully up higher than 40, up around 50, 60, even as high as 80. So if you're in chronic pain, vitamin D is a really important piece of that puzzle. So we talked also about stress management quite a bit on Wednesday. We talked about John Kabat-Zinn, and we talked about his program for managing stress and his wonderful book called Full Catastrophe Living. Yeah, great book, great title. Even if you don't like the book, you gotta like the title. Hi, Christy.
Hi, Christy.
And then other nutrients that might be helpful. So curcumin. Curcumin's great except for it's really hard for your body to absorb it. So it's good to have it in your food. When you mix it in your food, and especially foods that have fat in them, it tends to absorb a lot of those curcuminoids, they're called, and makes them easier to digest. And then we have a product, we call it curcuphilic on our website, and it's a special form that is actually like 1,000 times more bioavailable, more easily absorbed than normal curcumin. So that's very helpful. I love curcumin for gut inflammation, especially because it's not well absorbed, and so you get a ton of it in your gut. But it's also really, really good for systemic inflammation, so joint pain, muscle pain, things like that. But you have to take enough. And one of our pills of curcuphilic is sort of the equivalent of like 2,000 grams or some ridiculous amount. You'll have to look at the product sheet on our website, but it's incredibly bioavailable. It is probably the most bioavailable form on the market. So curcumin, really good. And you can get curcumin anywhere, and even the regular curcumin will work, but this stuff works better because you get more of it in your blood. And then we talked also about, I think we talked in general about a fat change. I don't remember, did we talk about an oil change for chronic pain? Maybe we didn't, and we should.
Yeah, I don't think we went into that.
So why don't you tell them a little bit about our morning smoothie and what we put in that. And
yeah, so our morning smoothie contains flax oil.
Yeah.
And it also contains, I'm trying to think now.
Well, just some various powders. I just meant the flax.
Yeah, so the flax
whatever smoothie you want. First of all,
and it actually makes it like creamier.
Oh yeah, it makes it really good.
Yeah.
So
we've got a great concoction that we have. It's like a treat.
Yeah. When you make a smoothie, you know how it feels good when you make the smoothie and drink the smoothie, and then 2 hours later you're starving. It's because there's no calories in your smoothie, right? Yeah. But if you take a couple of tablespoons, like a tablespoon in the little bottle, we have a squeeze bottle, and 2 tablespoons is 1-2. Well, I go like 1,001, 1,002. You know, I put probably 4 or 5 tablespoons in mine, and it makes it super creamy, which is really nice. And
it has a nice flavor.
Yeah, and it also, a nice nutty flavor. And it also is packed with omega-3 fatty acids, and those omega-3 fatty acids help your body manage inflammation. Well,
we have visitors.
We have, all kinds of, we have some, our youngest has some friends over, and they're staring at us through the window.
With a puppy. Yeah, so that, I mean, it's not, it's really important that you get a balance of oils. So the flax oil is different from, say, fish oil, which is different from coconut oil, which is different from olive oil. So, you're getting a nice balance of those oils.
Yeah, so coconut oil is a saturated fat, and you get omega-3 from the flax and from fish, and you get omega-6 from things like evening primrose oil and stuff like that. So, an oil change is really a variety of these healthy fats in good quantities, so that you have sufficiency of fats. Again, I talked about a sun-phobic society. We live in a fat-phobic society. Everybody's surgically dissecting their food to get all the fat off and whatever, and we're actually
buying fat-free things.
Fat-free is like the worst.
It equals,
fat. I mean, there's only 3 things. There's proteins, carbohydrates, and fat. And if you go fat-free, what are you left with? Well, what are they going to put in? More protein? No. More carbohydrates. So fat-free.
Avoid anything that says fat-free, unless it's just naturally fat-free, like a raspberry or an apple.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so, and we used to, there's this sort of dichotomy always in human thinking, right? And we used to think omega-3 fatty acids, good, omega-6 fatty acids, bad. Well, you need a balance. In fact, there are essential omega-6 fatty acids, so you need this balance. It's just like, we used to say antioxidants good, oxidants bad. Well, you need some oxidative stress for your biochemistry to work right. And you need some stress in your life for things to go right. We just finished...
For things to go. Stress causes us to do things.
Yeah, we just read a beautiful book no mud,
No lotus.
no lotus. And it is about, the pain in life, is what allows things to bloom on some level. And I like to think of that nasty, stinky mud as just teeming with nutrients, and then this beautiful lotus flower emerges from it. And that's a little bit, fat-free is disgusting and not a good situation. That is exactly right, Londa. More fats, and one of the ways that you can get more healthy fats is put them in your smoothie. So we put flax oil in because we get plenty of omega-6s. But if you're a vegan, you might want to think about the kind of oils that are in your diet and supplement with other oils, and then fish oil. I'm a big fan of fish oil. I think the therapeutic dose for fish oil starts at about 3,000 milligrams of the EPA plus DHA. Yeah. So your fish oil might say fish oil 1,000 milligrams. Well, I don't care about that. You turn the bottle around and you read the back and you add up how much EPA is in this pill, how much DHA is in the pill. I'm going to need to take enough pills to get 3,000 milligrams of that stuff. And that's the anti-inflammatory dose starting point. And that dose is really safe for pretty much anybody. If you're going to go above that, you probably need to be talking to a naturopath like Dr. Hughes, who's on here today, or a nutritionist or a nutritionally oriented doctor of some kind. To make sure that it's safe for you. But 3,000 milligrams is certainly safe for basically anybody.
And we have a very high dose fish oil.
We do.
Vivo offers one.
Yep, we do. So it's, let me see that bottle actually. We have it right here.
It's 1,000 in one pill.
It's so it's 730 of EPA and 270 of DHA. So yeah, basically 1,000 milligrams of the stuff. So 3 of those pills would do you. Most of the time it's twice that much. And then there's some unique nutrients. So lots of the herbs, the normal cooking herbs like rosemary is anti-inflammatory and sage is anti-inflammatory. And so, cooking with flavor, it's not all about taking a supplement pill. It's cooking with flavor. Garlic has anti-inflammatory, onion has anti-inflammatory properties. So cooking with flavor, that is an anti-inflammatory. So, the next time you're having pain, just remember, well, I need to eat something really, really tasty.
And I think that's why essential oils are helpful with inflammation as well. Just applying them right to the area that you have the inflammation or the discomfort. I think they're very soothing.
I think there's something really interesting about essential oils. I never appreciated essential oils. I always thought, come on, how can rubbing a drop of an essential oil on the bottom of your foot do anything? That was my, allopathic brain. But more recently, there's tons of studies coming out about how there are pheromones in essential oils. And those pheromones directly communicate with our immune system. And that's the whole mechanism of forest bathing. We've talked about forest bathing in the past, but if you're out in nature and you're just surrounded by these trees and these trees are elaborating these essential oils, these pheromones, and you can do the same thing by putting these pheromones, these essential oils on your skin or diffusing them into the air.
Yeah, you can get the benefits of being
just being in
forest.
And the pheromone communicates with our immune system to reduce inflammation and to reset our natural killer cells and do all kinds of really healthy things.
I love essential oils. I've had a love
She's
affair
educating me.
Had a love affair with essential oils for quite some time, and just the aroma of them too, I think is just wonderful.
Yeah. Let me borrow that bottle. This is a unique supplement called PEA, which is a completely unpronounceable word, but I'll try. Palmitoyl ethanolamine. I'm sure I butchered that. But anyway, this stuff has been studied. It's really good for neuropathic pain. And it also has been shown to be very helpful for the sort of readiness of the immune system. So there's actually several studies that show that doses of this stuff will reduce the chance of you getting the flu during flu season and things like that. But it also, people with migraine headaches, people with low back pain, people with neuropathic pain do very well on PEA.
And it also has alpha lipoic acid in it.
This particular one does. Yeah, this is, I don't know if you can see it. It's called, it's probably backwards, so.
Neuroimmune support.
Neuroimmune support. If you hold it up to a mirror, you'll be able to read it. So anyway, another supplement that we use a lot that has a lot of really helpful anti-inflammatory, anti-pain properties.
It's been on our
Teresa says she should be
regimen.
taking notes. Let's see, Yolanda, essential oils are amazing. I use them all the time. Turmeric oil is great for inflammation and pain. Yeah, it is. Yep. It's kind of funny. Some of the most anti-inflammatory oils, actually, if you use them too concentrated, they'll burn you. So it's kind of not intuitive, maybe, but you know, lots of things that are that way. So anyway, diet and stress, and then supplements. So that's sort of the functional medicine approach. You know, if you have chronic pain, and you know, you have an MRI and all the things, and unfortunately they don't find anything. And that's most of the time the case. Most of the time you get the MRI, it's completely normal, and oh gosh, then you sort of start getting treated like maybe you're just a malingerer or you're, you know, faking it. But the truth is, most people with chronic pain, they can't find anything. And it's, you know, so now it's idiopathic pain. Well, that means that your doctor's an idiot. That's what idiopathic means. It means there's no known cause, but you know, I'm kind of a jokester, so it means your doctor's an idiot. And don't believe them when, you know, they say, well, it's all in your head, there's nothing wrong with you. Yeah, they just can't find it. And it's unfortunately common that they can't find it. And you know, you can go to 100 pain doctors and they're all going to tell you, well, I can't find it. You can get addicted to pain pills. You can do all kinds of things like that. Or you can take a functional medicine approach, which is to look at all of these, you know, 15 domains of functional medicine. If you think about the 10 domains within the matrix itself, including the physiological domains and the mental, emotional, spiritual domains, the 5 modifiable lifestyle factors, and then the 3 areas that we call antecedents, triggers, and mediators. And when you really look at all of that stuff in combination, that's when you start to be able to pick out things that are probably triggers to your pain, and then reset the system so that the pain starts to heal. So that's really the functional medicine approach to pain. And love to entertain your questions. And I also want to talk a little bit about what time is it? We've probably been here for 2 minutes now or something. Oh, 20. That's good. Okay. Time flies when you're having fun. What are we talking about next week?
We were digging more into the spiritual.
Yeah. We're going to dive deep into sort of what we see, at least, as our society's spiritual void. And how, unfortunately, often the culture of spirituality is more about dividing us than uniting us. And how, in truth, it's all the same message, right?
I think, yeah, if we look deep enough and if you're open enough to see that the underlying message is universal.
Yolanda's telling us that she's a weather woman.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that's so common. Yeah, barometric pressure, hurting your joints. Yeah, every time you see that happening on the news channel, you should pound down some extra curcumin and rub down with curcumin oil. I think you'd find, well, I'm sure you already know it helps.
To prepare.
Yeah, to prepare. Yeah, weather systems. You know, there's so many things. Like, you know, doctors will tell you that that's nonsense, that that you don't hurt just because the weather changes. Well, then how come like 100% of people with pain will tell you that they do, right? I mean,
I can tell.
Yeah, exactly.
I can tell when the moon's full.
Yeah, I mean, we have a connection to our world that science hasn't even begun to explore, because there's a hubris about science that, you know, There's actually a wonderful book entitled Galileo's Error. And it talks about how Galileo specifically said, look, we're not going to talk about the nature of things. We're just going to describe what things do. So science is really about what things do, not what things are. And it's a wonderful book by a philosopher whose name, of course, escapes me right now. But it's a little dense, too, so you may not be that interested. But anyway, yeah, we have this incredible relationship with the earth and the rhythms that are around us. You know, why wouldn't you have a sense for when the moon was one way or another? Because it's part of our epigenetics for generations. You know, we used to think there's this interesting problem in biology. There was Darwin and there was this guy named Lamarck. And Lamarck said that, you know, giraffes had long necks because they needed them. They kept stretching them to get to the tall leaves. And of course, Darwin said, well, that's ridiculous. It's evolution that did that. Well, it turns out that there are things that we do in this lifetime after conception that change the genes that we pass on. It's called epigenetics, and it happens to, you know, in a variety of ways, but the best studied is there are these proteins on our DNA called histones, and changes in the histone proteins influence which genes are going to be expressed or suppressed. And so it looks like that can be influencing multiple generations, maybe like 14 generations. Think about that, 14 generations ago. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't have a family tree. I don't know my family tree 14 generations deep. That's a long time.
Right, and then that opens you up to questioning what other things are we passing on to future generations as well.
Yeah.
You know, those mental, emotional, and spiritual pieces too. What, you know, some of the things that are coming up now in our society or within us, you know, is that passed on from previous generations?
Right, and I think it is.
Yes, Yolanda, this might be a good topic to expand on after you do your spiritual conversation next week. I agree. I'm excited.
Yeah, and you know, so past life regression and all that kind of stuff, is that just woo-woo nonsense, or is that people getting deeply in touch with their epigenetic
ancestors.
Yeah, their epigenetic heritage and their ancestral issues.
Yeah, because, you know, we receive things from our parents. You know, that's where our DNA comes into play. And, you know, why can't there be more involved in just the color of our eyes or our hair or our skin?
There almost certainly is. So we're going to dive deep into that stuff next week, talking about some of these, you know, what is it? Is it epigenetics, or is it spirituality? Is it, you know, and it's all convoluted and it's all intertwined. And
is it all different words for the same thing?
Right. Yeah. We have lots of discussions about what does the word God mean. I'd love to hear your guys' definition. Tell me what God means in the comments. I'd love to see that. We've had many conversations about what that word means. And I like to ask that question of people for a variety of reasons, because often it can be very illustrative as to how we proceed in helping people feel well. Anyway, I think we've taken up enough of your time. I'm so happy you're here. Thank you very much for tuning in. Don't forget, if you're interested, we do now have our online clinic open and available. There's even a button on our Facebook page. So we will see you Monday, and we will be diving into some realms of mental, emotional, and spiritual wellness. And we'll see you then. See if there's any other comments before I...
No questions.
Nope. All righty.
Bye.
Bye-bye.